Canadian blues rocker Colin James is still alive and kicking. We caught up with Colin last month just as he was about to celebrate a significant birthday, along with the release of his latest album, Chasing the Sun. Here he is to tell us about working with Lucinda Williams and Charlie Musselwhite and why he still covers the blues greats when he's out on the road.
Well, I've had 20 records out, and my first two records were I was with major labels and they were kind of more on the pop rock, but blues, always blues based all the time.
Right.
But definitely more on the, the pop side. Well, it was just heavier, more rock on the rock side. And then I put out a record called National Steel halfway through the 90s. That was all acoustic, kind of Muddy Waters, and we did a couple covers that were like Mose Allison and some stuff in that part. I love Mose Allison. I love John Hammond. I love John Hammond, man. He's the best. But and then I did a record called Bad Habits where it was more like Waddy Wachtel, and I had Mickey Curry on drums and just a host of really great guests, and Mavis sang on that record. And then eventually we did a little big band record, and actually in 93 we did the first little big band. So that was more of the swing, and it wasn't swing really as much as it was late 50s rock and roll, like right. Yeah, Johnny Guitar Watson or Roy Brown.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a love of mine. And to this day, I get to do shows with them very occasionally.
Yeah.
We got one coming up at a East Coast Blues Festival in September. And of course, we're coming down to the States right after that. We're coming down and doing these shows down in to the northeastern states after that. So
cool. So now this Chasing the Sun album has got some cool cats on it. You're working with Daryl Jones and Charlie Drayton. So how did that all come to pass? I know you recorded it in Nashville, and you have your buddy Colin Linden working with you on it, right?
That's right. I mean, Charlie Drayton and I were on the same label in the late 80s, early 90s. We were both on Virgin Records, America.
Right.
And so we shared that in common, and I opened up for Keith Richards on a fair amount of shows back in those days. And I knew Waddy as well, but I also knew Waddy from another place. And but I never had a chance to really meet Charlie. So he was such a great guy, such a real musical person, real listener, And so that was awesome playing with him. Gerald Jones was as nice as could be. And,
right.
I tried not to talk about Miles Davis every 5 seconds.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm not wearing this shirt because I'm playing with Daryl Jones, I'll tell you. But it was really a pleasure. Colin's got a purpose-made studio in the back. I've known Colin since I was 13 and he was 16.
Okay.
And we've probably made 5 or 6 records together over the years.
Yeah.
And he's always got great drum sounds. He plays with T-Bone Burnett and it kind of runs in that crowd. So his engineers are always spot on, and he's got a sound himself. He's done a bunch of Bruce Cockburn records, of course, lots of them. But anyway, so it was really comfortable. I came right off the road straight to Nashville. We recorded in the room that I was sleeping. So my bed had a mic at the end of it with the guitar station. And that's where I'd wake up, go get coffee, and pretty much stay where I was.
Not bad. Yeah. Adds a whole new meaning to the woke up this morning thing when
Yeah. But Colin's studio, it's a purpose-built studio, and it's really he was also worked on that television show Nashville.
Oh yeah, I love that.
So he got to keep all the gobos on wheels,
right? The
dividers. So it has all that going, and it's an open room, so you got to watch out with bleed and some stuff like that. But I think my amps were in the bathroom.
Okay.
But anyway, it was a pleasure, and what a rhythm section. And then this record's mostly written songs that I wrote with others. So it's challenging when you're doing that, and we had to go straight into it. But and Lucinda's edition was really kind of a holistic, natural thing. She came for dinner one night, and we mentioned we may do one of her slower songs, and somehow that evolved into us doing a quicker song.
Right.
She loved meeting Daryl and Charlie.
Right.
At dinner that night, and then she just says, "I'll come over and sing it with you."
Right.
So That was amazing. And I'm a big fan, so that was fantastic. And Charlie Musselwhite on the record, what can you say? It's a legend right there. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So the Lucinda song Protection opens the album. So
That's right.
Yeah. So you kind of alluded to coming to that track. It's not one of her best known songs. So was it something you were familiar with?
I came into the world all alone, pushing and struggling to find a home. And I tell you what, child, go ahead and repeat it. It was my own trial, made me stand on my own 2 feet. I need protection from the enemy of love. I need protection from the enemy of righteousness. I need protection from the enemy of good. I need protection from the enemy of kindness. Give me protection.
Yeah, I've listened to her since that first Car Wheels record over the years, and in these times that we're in, in North America now, so driven by this whole political, it's a timely song when you think of all the things you could use some protection from.
Yes.
So I like that, and it kind of pairs with the other song we have on the record called "This Song Kills Hate."
Right, I was going to bring that up next.
Yeah, we kind of wrote that, around that Woody Guthrie having this guitar kills fascists.
Yep.
And so I thought that was a nice ringer for both of them. And but I was enjoying listening to that one the other day. This song kills. Well, it's got a long title though. I always want to put I got to get an acronym going for that one.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, as a Canadian, it must be interesting, as it is for us here in New Zealand, watching the American political thing unfold, change minute by minute.
So crazy. You got all these adults running around talking like children, and it's just like, oh, it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And you mentioned Charlie Musselwhite. He's on Devilment, which I think is one of Colin's tunes himself. So how did all that come together?
Sometimes when you look at me, all my troubles cease to be. You are lovely, you are fine. You got the devilment on your mind. Oh, so fine, a heart so pure. You're alluringly demure. You're the fruit upon the vine. You got the devilment on your mind. You got the devilment on your mind.
Colin suggested the song. He'd become friendly with Charlie over the years, and unfortunately, I wasn't there when he played on the song. It was sent to I think he lived in Mississippi. I think he's in Mississippi these days.
Right, of course.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, of course. So I think Colin went down and recorded it with him down there. Ran down to his home studio and put it on. So
Right.
I've met him and his wife because I've done a few of those blues cruises. That we're going on another one this fall as well.
Right, and he also plays on the John Hammond song you cover, the "Come to Find Out."
Gonna leave here running. My time has just run out. Gonna leave here running. My time has just run out. You never wanted me, baby. Lord, I've come to find out.
And John, man, like that guy to me, really under the radar in a lot of ways, just as far as what he brought to acoustic, especially acoustic blues. Because I always thought he had really good taste. Like John would always really pick great songs, and sometimes he'd, do the same song two times, three times.
Right.
But when you find a good thing. But I've always I got to meet him when I was 16. I phoned him up at his hotel. My local hometowns had said, "Hey, do you want to introduce John at this local folk club?"
Right.
I said, "Oh my God, sure. Here's his number." So I had to phone the hotel And I said, "Hey, John, I'm a huge fan, and I play a lot of your songs in my little blues band. And would you meet me for breakfast?" Which he said yes to. And I met him for breakfast, and we talked about kind of some of the history and you know, because when I was younger, when I didn't really want to play in cover bands and stuff, John was my kind of my hero, where I could hear Key to the Highway, or I could hear just a good Chicago shuffle that was well curated and
Uh-huh.
stick it in my show, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then when I would see him play acoustically, and the way he would resound through the at an outdoor festival with it playing the rack harp and the guitar and everything at the same time, so fantastic.
Yep. One other track I wanted to touch on was How It Feels to Be Loved, which is kind of almost like the centerpiece of the record. It's right in the middle, and it's kind of a longer track. And what else can you tell us about it?
After the storm, here in the golden hour, we know how to hurt, we know how to heal each other. That's how it feels. We know how it really feels to be loved.
Well, it's a special song to me because my daughter got married in my backyard,
Of course.
right there.
Yeah.
Last year, and I'd done a writing trip, and I had written a song with two other writers. That song,
Yep.
the day before the wedding, and
You wrote it the day
we all
before the wedding?
said, what's that?
You wrote the song the day before the wedding?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and we didn't even think. I didn't do it purposely.
Right.
I was on a writing trip. I wrote 3 songs with people, came home, played it to everybody, and they said, "Well, why don't you play that at the wedding?" So on an acoustic with no horns and no keyboards,
Right.
I did it in the backyard, quite nervously, because I didn't have I didn't know the word. I didn't remember the words yet.
Sure.
But and it was a real pleasure, that song, with the band, because Charlie Drayton, I'm a huge fan of the Take It So Hard record, and they do a beautiful Memphis-based track with Sarah Dash singing on it on that record,
Right.
in that Al Green way. And I've never really done a real Al Greenish type. I've had a couple more Philadelphia soul things,
Right.
and so it was really great. And when we did the Beds, Charlie instinctively took it down. He never told us he was going to take it down to nothing.
Right.
He just went, and later on, I had to come in here by myself and hear where he put the accents and make it move. So that was challenging because, there's no one else in the room, and I'd be in here at 2 a.m.
Yep.
Try to feel, But it was cool, and I was so excited to send it to Colin, because I had a really good night one night where I was up to like 5 a.m. and the studio, everything was working, and I was throwing harmonies down and just having a great time. My studio there's my Neumann.
Go ahead. You got to have it.
And U67 for all you buffs. So that was a pleasure, and the fact that I could help Charlie get those drums he put across in a great way, because I had to find those moments, and that was like a puzzle. But I love that, and I love tracks like that. I got to walk through Royal Studios a couple of years ago in Memphis, and it's exactly like it was when they cut those records. It's
Sure.
bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Now, I wonder how if your relationship with your guitar playing has changed in your guitar over the years. I know when you started out, you were kind of taken under the wing somewhat by Stevie Ray Vaughan. So, and that's a fairly heavy thing to start from. So where are you now, guitar player wise?
Well, guitars for me have just been a great vehicle to write songs and express yourself in a way that's not just coming from your voice.
Right.
I was probably more of considered more of a guitar player in the early days, although,
right.
I really started singing on my first record pretty heavily. And, over the years, I guess what I'm trying to say is I love playing. It's like there was a day when I had 1 or 2 guitars to my name. And now, even with all my guitars on the road, there's still a few left over that I can play. Used to be that if they took my stuff, that was it. I was done.
Right.
Because I came back here today because I have a bunch of guitars out east now, and I have a bunch of guitars in storage out west.
Yep.
And often I don't see my own guitars for months. It's
Oh, man.
I know. But yeah, so that's it. I love singing, you know, and I always have. And I think, you know, when you're young in your early 20s, you haven't really found your tonality yet. You know, you're really up in your throat. And you're living a rock and roll lifestyle. So you're not sleeping well. You're out there, you know. So it was like hard to maintain a throat on the road. And I listen back now and it sounds so shallow to me.
Right.
So, you know, it's hopefully, you know, I just love it, and I love it more and more singing. It's amazing when you can do 2 things you love and they're both separate in so many ways. Vocals are so, it's kind of cool because it's part of your body, you know. It's like, I love that. But I love singing. Every night's a challenge, you know. Every night's a place you could try something different. Best.
Cool. So now your birthday's on the 17th. The record's out on the 23rd. It's both are kind of milestones. Does it give you pause to kind of reconsider things, or have you been reflective at all?
Not really. You know, we got a busy year coming up. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes, you know, I do some of these shows in the summertime playing to people on a beautiful summer night, and I think about how lucky I am to do what I do for a living, to be able for this long to do what I love. So I just love it. And you know, we're going down to the northern states as soon as we play this other thing, and we're doing a little cruise in France in October. I'm gonna head to Venice for a little bit in front of it, and then go and do this boat cruise. I have 4 different iterations of my band. I've got a trio,
right.
I've got a 4-piece, I've got a 5-piece. I have the little big band, which is more like 7, 8, 9.
Right.
And we, you know, it's great. And every one of those types of bands has slightly different song book.
Yep.
So it's really nice. So you can keep it fresh, and you do this for a while, and then that for a while. But I'm looking forward to getting out and playing. And you know, that's an area I've never been to, New Zealand and Australia, and it's just a shame. So I've got to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because I see you have a gig coming up with Burton Cummings. So I'm guessing that you have a different iteration of the band when you're playing with someone like that who's had all these pop and rock hits than somebody else.
I have. Yeah. Well, I have horns. I got a tenor and a barry.
Right.
And that's nice because you can do if you want to do something that's a bit more on the traditional blues side, you can do a slow blues that's kind of fortified by those nice horn patches. Right. That's always great. And you know, it's great. I love it. So yeah, I've had a horns for quite a few of the summer dates, and I love that.
All righty, very good. All right, well, hopefully you can make it down to this part of the world at some point. It seems about.
I know. I know. I hear it's just beautiful. I hear it looks a lot like British Columbia. So,
well, you know. Yeah, because when I moved to New Zealand, I realized Auckland was very similar to Toronto, except for there's no snow, which made a big difference. The feel of the city was very similar, and the size and the vibe and all that. Yeah. So.
Well, that's why I'm in Vancouver, you know, and it's not perfect. Like we get rained on pretty good.
Yeah. I'm sure. Well, we do.
And we get maybe snow for 2-3 weeks max.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like usually in danger of melting in a single day. But yeah, it's our summers are hot and crazy hot these days, though. Like 3 months of just barely a drop. So.
All right. Well, yeah, most people come down here for our summer, which is in January and February. So.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on your show.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing this, and have fun on your birthday and on release day. If you enjoyed this episode of the 13th Floor's Music Talk series, please be sure to subscribe to the website or to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. There's a whole lot more to discover.